Hey everybody, Sergei here from ukramedia.com. Thank you so much for being here. Because honestly, if you wouldn't be here, it'd be kind of awkward. But we're super excited. Today is an exciting day for us here at Ukramedia because this is our first time that we're actually releasing a course on Blender, which is something I'm very passionate about. I've been talking about it for a while now. A lot of you have been on it, have been on this topic with me. And so today, I want to talk about Blender again because today we're launching the course and actually it is live right now as we speak. You can go to ukramedia.com/blender and check it out. But I'm going to wait around to see, to make sure everybody's here. So let me know if you can hear me. All right, let's see. I'm going to hang around for just a couple of minutes just to see what you guys are saying. So we have Kirk, we have Greg. Kirk, welcome from Atlanta. I've met Kirk. He's an awesome guy. Greg, awesome guy. We have Mark from Netherlands, Amsterdam. I love that city. I've been there actually. I got to go to the Blender Institute and it was awesome. We have Charlie from California. I know Charlie very, very well. We have Pepe Mariano. I'm not sure if I'm saying it right. Welcome. Marco's here. Marco is a good friend of mine. He's from Italy. Just a smart dude. He knows that. Hyper Shock Designs. Welcome. Who else? We have a bunch of Rigel. I can't pronounce half the names, so I'm sorry. But the purpose of this broadcast is just to get on here and let you know that our course is out and it's, you can go and check it out. It's about 2 hours and 43 minutes long. So in 2 hours and 43 minutes, you can create this sports motion graphics bumper. Whoops. So something like this. Obviously, you've seen it many times now, but this is live. I mean, this is a real-time rendering right now. I mean, I'm using a laptop that's pretty, 2 years old, and I'm also doing screen capturing. It's pretty heavy right now, and you can see it's keeping up. I mean, it's not bad. So I'm gonna wait. I think one more minute for everybody to get in here. I kind of just talk about what's included in the course. What am I going to talk about, and why I think it's important. Why I think Blender is not just a tool for everybody else but the MoGraphers. I think Blender is also a MoGraph tool, and I think people should start paying attention. I am, and by the way, I'm not new to Blender. I had a friend of mine when I was back in, I wasn't in high school. It was college. When I was in college, a friend of mine, Byron from Kingsport, he introduced me to Blender. I remember we had a coffee. We went to a coffee shop, and he was, pulled out his laptop and he was showing me Blender. And at the time, it kind of looked wonky. It looked like it looked kind of aged. And I kind of passed it. I mean, but I was always, I always had it installed. I always kind of played around with it, but I wasn't taking it seriously because it just didn't look like a serious tool. I mean, I'm not saying it wasn't powerful then. It just didn't appear to me like a legit fully loaded 3D package because the UI looked old. It just didn't take it very seriously. So I learned 3D on Maya. But on and on here and there, I was slowly kind of keeping my eye on Blender because I loved the direction they were taking. Finally, when they decided to actually redesign the UI, that was a smart move because now it looks and feels like a legit 3D software that it is. And before, people didn't give it much respect because of that, but now it is. So that's exciting. But not only that, what's exciting to me, what really caught my attention this time was the real-time gaming engine called Eevee. And you might be wondering, like, why? What's the point? Well, Eevee, you've heard of Cycles. It's a actual like a ray trace type engine. It does GPU supported, pretty heavy, really awesome. The same thing as like Redshift. It's really it's great, but the problem with something like Cycles, it took forever to render one frame. If you did something complicated, it would take you at least 2-3 minutes to render one frame, at least on this laptop that I'm on. But it wasn't until they came up with Eevee, which is a gaming engine, and gets you pretty close. I mean, it's scary how close it gets you. Now, obviously, it's not fully like ray trace. I mean, there's a lot of faking going on there. It's a gaming engine. But for motion graphics, it's perfect. I mean, it's exactly what you need. It gets you the job done. So something that took me 2 to 3 minutes to render, with Blender, I can render it on my laptop, be like 6 seconds. I mean, it's unheard of, right? At that point, it changes everything. The argument here is speed because before, when I worked at Fox Sports, we had a render farm, so it's not a problem. You create whatever you wanted to create, you send it to a render farm, and like a bunch of machines would, do the renders for you, and it's great. But that was an issue for someone who is a freelancer, because you didn't have the render farm. So you had to play with indirect lighting. You had to adjust the Cinema 4D to kind of make it work on your laptop or whatever. But with Blender, with a real-time gaming engine, I mean, it's impressive. Obviously, Blender is not Cinema 4D in the MoGraph areas, and some things are not as easy as Cinema 4D. However, and it's partially because motion graphics people didn't pay attention to Blender, so they're not catering to Blender people. I mean, they're not catering to MoGraphers, Blender people. And I want to change that narrative. I want for Blender to notice us and be like, hey, we have needs, and we want you to create those motion graphic tools. And I think they will. So, but even with what we have now, it's pretty solid. I think it's good enough for a MoGraph tool. All right, let me see what you guys are saying here. Yeah, this render engine is free. A Blender is free. Everything is free. I can't believe it. And by the way, you just go over here to render settings, and you'll see render engine right here. You see a render engine called Eevee. That's the gaming engine. That's the one I'm in. Now, cycles. And by the way, Eevee and cycles almost work pretty well. I mean, it's pretty consistent. But notice, it's just to render one frame. It's taken forever. The noise. I don't want this might mess up my stream, so I'm going to go back to Eevee. But with this, I can even show you. Watch this. So this is the render. Normally, it would take me 2 minutes or something like that to render this, just one frame. But I'm going to press F12 right now, and just to show you how quickly it renders this. So F12, and I'm waiting. You can see it's starting to render. I mean, that's pretty quick. And, well, it rendered it in the compositing tag right here, because the way I have it set up. So that's how long it took. It didn't take very long at all. And that is impressive. I mean, the fact that you can render something like this in no time, that got my attention. So obviously I can tell you more about Blender. Why, a lot of people ask me, like, so why Blender? Like, why are you so, for me, obviously number one is the speed. That's what it comes down to. That's why a lot of times I haven't been doing Cinema 4D tutorials, because I'm trying to cater people with laptops. And Cinema 4D, I mean, obviously, if you have a super powerful system, it's great. But with the gaming engine, it changes a lot of things. Because now it's like After Effects, 6-7 seconds per frame. I mean, for something 3D heavy like this. And I'm talking about, I have depth of field, blur, motion blur, and all kinds of stuff, like the glow. So it still takes about 6 seconds. Charlie, thanks, man. So looks like, all right, sounds good. Sergei, Dave from Chicago. Dave, welcome. All right, Jack, Mark. Okay, good. So I want to keep talking. And obviously, this is just me jumping on here and to tell you about the course that we have. And so it's the beginning for us. It's our first Blender course. It's the beginning for us. I'm going to do more of motion graphics type tutorials on Blender. Right now, we're starting with the course. I just want to see interest, if that's something even people are interested in. And based on what kind of response we get with this course, I'm going to flood more info and dedicate more time on Blender, because I believe in it. I just want to see if you guys do as well. So this course is about 2 hours and 43 minutes long. So in 2 hours and 43 minutes, you'll be able to create this. You'll have instant access to like 12 videos. They're highly edited. I edit things pretty, I didn't waste any time at all. And I didn't use any of my not so funny Eastern European jokes. And so yeah, it's definitely highly edited. You're gonna fly through it. We have playback speed control options that you can you can play at faster speeds. We also have some like a timestamp, so you can kind of shuffle through things. Project files is included, so you can see the project file. You can open it up. Now the only thing is not included, the sound effects. So the sound effects are not included because they're not mine. And honestly, sound effects is not something I do, so I wouldn't even provide it for you, because when I worked at Fox Sports, we had a sound guy that would do things for us. We would just the way we worked, you finish up the animation, you make it look good, and then you hand it off to a sound guy that would do all the work for you. So let me kind of show you what this is. So right now, like it looks like if I show you the camera view. So this is what the camera sees. And the way you create stuff in motion graphics, I mean, you only want to create what you're looking at. That's why a lot of it you'll see that it's kind of nothing's much on this side or that side. You just create at what you see. That's why you want to lock in on the shot as quick as you can and just build it up, create as much detail because you don't have much time. In broadcast graphics, I mean, if you worked at something like places like Fox Sports or any other, you know that speed is really important. So that's why even in this course, the way I approach things, just to kind of show you my workflow, how I approach things. But I learned a lot of things in Blender that I already knew in Cinema 4D, and I was impressed. I have to say that the constraints, the drivers and things that you can do with. Let me show you some of the things here. Like for example, this right here is fully rigged. This door, you can move on it. You can move this. Watch this. All of that moves with it. So that's pretty cool. You can even like go in here. You can move on these. I mean, a lot of times in motion graphics, you want to kind of duplicate things and fill things up. So that's what I did. I basically duplicated that and placed it in here. But even text, you can go into text. You can change things. For example, let's do ukramedia. And I'm going to copy this. Obviously, the reason why you see what you see because I have two of them. One for like the bevel, and the other one second. Let me go into regular mode because it's kind of hard to see. There you go. So, all right, we have the first one. One second. So, ukramedia. All right. So you can see you can easily change the text. Well, if you, obviously the way I work, I like to have bevel on my text. If I zoom in here, you can see this right here is extra bevel. Like Blender comes in, that stuff you have to do on this. You'll see in the course, I'll talk about how to create custom bevels. And really the way it works is pretty cool. I'll show you. So I'm going to split the screen. And right here, you have an object. It's hidden right there. You can almost see it right there. I'm going to go to top view and let me zoom in on it. So this thing determines your bevel. Like it basically sends this spline across your text. And you can easily alter your bevel in here. You can make it like longer. You can select, and again, all of this stuff I go over in the course. And I'm trying to be quick here for the live stream. But stuff like that for motion graphics is so useful because you can create your custom bevels. You can adjust these, do Control-I and invert, and pull on these. Anyway, all of that, again, I go over in the course, but again, all of it is responsive. Even this rail right here, it's kind of hard to see when it's fully rendered. So let me go into just a regular shader. All right, so we have everything's rigged. Even this, like you can see that rigged. If I move on it like this, you can see the bottom one moves. So it's easy. Like it's so important to know how to rig things because once you do, you don't have to animate everything else. You just animate one spline and then everything, adjusts. So that's cool. The same thing even for these. Sometimes titles change, so you want to make sure that you rig it in a way to where it works properly. So anyway, I can kind of go on and kind of show you all the stuff that I need that you will learn how to create. But everything I'm showing you here, again, I'm gonna show you how to create all of this from scratch. Literally, we're gonna open up Blender and we're gonna start with the cube, and I'm gonna show you how to do it. Well, how am I doing on time here, Vlad? By the way, Vladimir's here with me. He's you can't see him, but he's here with me. But I want to kind of talk to you about real quick. Let me see what you guys are saying. Blender tutorial, yes. So this course, obviously, it's a premium course, but in the future, like in the near future, I'm going to do some free tutorials. I'm going to do lots of them, and I'm excited, especially with the stuff that I picked up doing the course and just researching and stuff like that. So I'm going to share all of my knowledge in tutorials as well. So that's coming. But the cool thing about the course is that it's longer. It's 2 hours and 43 minutes long, but I'm able to walk you through the process. That's something I enjoy with the course. With tutorials, I just throw stuff at you and I'll leave you because I don't have the time. But with the course, I'm able to walk you through the whole process, how I arrived to the point B from point A. And that to me is exciting because then you're not left out. Greg said, hey, Vlad. All right, so, there's some cool stuff that I picked up. I'm going to share some with you. So let me see. All right. By the way, that's what we're going to start with in the course, just this cube, and everything else will be created from it. And everything will be created in Blender. We're not going to leave Blender. I lied. At the very end, I just showed you how to bring in your final renders into something like After Effects. Okay, so okay, let me do this real quick. I have some notes. It's on my phone. So I kind of want to share some of the stuff that I really enjoyed as I was doing the course, and some of the things that I picked up, the little tips and tricks. I can't find it, but stuff like obviously the new render engine would be one. I mean, that's a big one. But even things like control spacebar. I like the fact that you can go into any window and you can press control spacebar and hover over any window, especially in stuff like animation. You can quickly see your curves and things of that nature. In fact, let me open up my project. So little things like that, by the way, I'll do a tutorial on this. I'll show you all my little tips and tricks that I picked up. But that was really useful. I love that you can use drivers, and if you'll learn in the course, drivers is like Blender expressions almost. You can go to any property, go over all of these. But anyway, in the course, I use drivers to rig these, like for this shape, the extrude of that shape to follow this. And I'll show you how to do that in the course. And the same thing for this, that's responsive as well. And you can select this one and move it, and you can see everything moves with it. Make sure you move the cap as well. Everything else moves with it. So, and not only here, but there as well. So drivers was huge, constraints was huge. It would be this one right here. All these constraints are amazing. But you know what? It's something I'm gonna have to do in the tutorial. It's really hard to do it live because I enjoy giving you all the meat at one point, at one time, and kind of show practical examples. And I really don't, but just know that it's coming. I'm gonna give you all the tips and tricks I picked up in this course. But again, if you want to learn how to do motion graphics, especially how to do this sports bumper in Blender, completely in Blender, again, the Blender is totally free. You can download it and play with it. And it's not even out. 2.8 is not out. You can download it at builder.blender.org. You can download the latest builds that Blender puts out every single day. And you can check that out. Again, builder.blender.org. Check it out. But right now, let me see if you guys have any questions. How much will this course cost? It's $35 and it's live right now. You can go check it out. So Nate's NT Productions, again, Nate is an awesome dude. I'm a huge fan of his. He does scripting and in After Effects and Premiere. So Nate, welcome. By the way, if you're not subscribed to his YouTube channel, check him out, NT Productions. But he's asking, let me show you. Here's the wireframe. So obviously these are splines. So I try to keep things in splines. So you can go over here and you can actually grab edges. You can adjust all of these. So for motion graphics, stuff like that is really important. You want to make sure you can edit all of this stuff. So except almost everything is a spline or a curve. With a spline is the Cinema 4D kind of term, I guess, and a curve would be a blender. But except for this one is actual mesh. You can select faces, and that one as well. But everything else is a spline, that's how I like to work with motion graphics. You can do that all day long. Having that control, because things change, especially text, and sometimes you need to scale it down. So you want to have that flexibility. So it's definitely a different way of working. Now, objects in the back are mesh, but everything else, all of this stuff, are splines or curves. I need to get used to saying curves. Jack. So if Eevee is a game, okay, using it as the other one would be Cycles. So Eevee is more like a gaming engine. And it's amazing. It gets you pretty close. Now, obviously, it does have some limitations, but Cycles is more heavier. It's actually ray traced. It bounces off. It gives you accurate stuff. But you can you can get pretty close with Eevee. And I was impressed how close you can get with Eevee. Like, for example, let me do something here. I'm going to scale this up. Let me subdivide this. By the way, F3 is an awesome shortcut. You can search for things, subdivide. Let me do something like 20. My numpad key doesn't work. Okay, there you go. And so let's bring in some kind of, I don't know, sphere maybe. Let's do sphere. Hang with me for a second. So let me move this over here. Let's do shading, smooth. Well, you can't do smooth with that one. All right, so let me create some textures real quick. Wasn't planning on doing this. Shader, okay, nodes. So that's gonna be my ground. Let's make it dark. This can be like a, I don't know, something like that is good. Let's go to Eevee, activate this Eevee, make sure Eevee's on, press Z, or you can go here. So now we're seeing something, but there are things you have to turn on when you work with Eevee. Ambient, you can do bloom. Screen is a reflection, so you can see before you wouldn't be able to see objects, but you have to turn that on. Motion blur, you can do shadows, you know, like soft shadows. But another important thing is color management. Like by default, it's set to Filmic, which is kind of like a raw type file. You know, if you shoot with cameras, Filmic would be like a raw. And a lot of times if you take like a raw file from any camera, it's just not looking very pleasant because it's not finished. So, but I like standard because it kind of crushes the blacks and you know, gives me that contrasty look that I like, which that's what I want. But you can easily duplicate things, you know, create Shift S, substitute this for another shader like emission. Let's do this. Well, let's create a new texture for that one. That one's going to be principled. Okay. But the cool thing about this, I mean, bloom is pretty cool because you can crank up the heat on this. I mean, you can create some interesting stuff real time. You can go over here, maybe introduce like a shader or texture, like a brick. And if you can see, if I put it on here, you can see brick texture. You can scale. It's probably hard for you guys to see, but you can scale the size of it. But the cool thing about this, you can apply it to different, like the roughness, and you can only see it in reflection. I mean, this thing is amazing. The fact that you can do this in real time, you can change this up to, you know, other stuff. It glows. I mean, that's awesome. I mean, you can, you know, select this one, maybe go to modifiers and get something simple, deform maybe. Get some deform going. Anyway, I love it. Now, again, to answer your question, cycles is obviously a lot heavier. It's more accurate. It's like Redshift and Cinema 4D, but the fact that you can get pretty close with a gaming engine is impressive, and it definitely got my attention because look, I'm on a laptop. It's a 2-year-old laptop, and I'm doing a live stream, so I'm pretty heavy right now. Screencast is on, everything's on, and I'm still able to get something really interesting. So I like it. Whoa, those reflections! I know. Anyway, any other questions? My brother Dimitri just joined. By the way, Dimitri is actually working on the course for us right now. Super pumped about it. Keep an eye out for that. It's going to be on the workflow and how you can speed up your workflow, or you're going to have to learn more about it. But it's basically how to be organized with projects and be more inspired and be organized and stuff like that. So look out for him. He's really good at that stuff. Marco. Yeah, Marco's doing some educating right now. Drivers. By the way, Marco, dude is out there as well. He's been, I work with him a lot. He's a coder, and he's been like already coding some stuff for me for like creating add-ons. By the way, Blender comes with add-ons. If you go to Preferences, and if you go to Add-ons, which right here, you'll see a lot of the stuff you can see are not even checked. So if you don't see something that you normally like in your other applications, chances are you can probably find them in add-ons. And because Blender is free, because it is an open source software, a lot of coders can kind of come in and code stuff and create what we call add-ons. And that's how you can bring stuff in. And Marco designed one for me, or he coded something for me, and that's how he did it. But guy is a genius. What else do we have? Yeah, you can. I mean, you can go to Filmic. You can adjust. Yeah, you can. You can go to Filmic and adjust whatever. I think it's in here, high contrast. But it's still. It wasn't this. I remember when I tried it, it didn't give me what I wanted. Well, I guess high. I mean, it depends on. Again, it's pretty subjective. For what I needed, I wanted it to be really contrasty. You can see even with here. I mean, I guess the beautiful thing about Filmic, it gives you some detail. You know, when you go to standard, it kind of crushes it. So again, it's subjective. It's whatever it is you want to go for. Has anyone tried Flip Fluids? I haven't. I know a lot of you guys have, but I'm sure it's great. All right. Well, how are we doing on time, bud? 1:56. Okay, couple more minutes. If you guys have any questions, this is the time. Okay, how high? Okay. All right. Again, thank you guys for tuning in. Again, if you want to check out the course, go to ukramedia.com/blender. I'm excited about it because that was a really fun project for me. I got to create something that I love, sports and graphics. And not only that, but the third element to that is Blender. I'm a huge fan of Blender. In fact, I don't know if you know this, but I got to go to the Blender Institute when I was in Amsterdam for the IBC, and I got to tour the place. It was really cool. I enjoyed it. Okay. One more minute. What is this? How is Blender with fluids? Fluids. Well, I mean, honestly, I had to use fluids one time when I worked at Fox Sports. We needed fluids for. We had a race car. We had to fill it up with fluids. We were just creating something abstract, and I used fluids for that. And obviously, it's not as good as like Real Flow or something like that. But for what you need, I mean, it can get you pretty close. And again, you would go to. Is it? The new icons mess me up all the time. It's one of these. Wait, that one, right? Fluids, like the smoke is in here. Where the heck is fluids? Right here. I went right by it. So that's how you get to it. But again, that's another cool thing about Blender. You'll see that a lot of the stuff that Cinema 4D has, all of that is in Blender. In fact, I remember when some of the things that Blender had that Cinema 4D didn't, like GPU-supported render engine, like Cycles. You know, Cycles been around for a while. And also things like fluids, that's been around for a while. And the smoke and even 3D tracking. I remember that was in Blender first. And that's the beautiful thing about open source, because it's open and people can try things quicker, they can release things quicker. And obviously Cinema 4D can't, because they want to, when they release something, it needs to be solid, it needs to be fully functioning, which is good. Don't get me wrong, but I'm just saying it's cool that you get to see things much quicker with Blender because of the community. I love the community. All right. Well, okay. Hey, thank you guys for tuning in. Again, check out the course. Go to ukramedia.com/blender. And by the way, if you haven't joined our community, you should definitely do so. You can go to ukramedia.com/community. We have an amazing community. I see a lot of the people that I'm seeing here online that are talking to me right now are from the community. And I've met so many of them, like Charlie, Jack. I think it's the same Jack from NC. I'm not sure if it is. Marco. A lot of them are from the community. So definitely join the community. And we just see Ty joined in. Is Blender better than Cinema 4D? I mean, as far as MoGraph, no. I think Cinema 4D definitely has Blender beat. So I'm not dissing C4D. It's just, it's not cheap, Cinema 4D. It will give you a lot of the stuff, definitely. And it's, obviously not as good. Blender's not as good as Cinema 4D in MoGraph area. However, that doesn't mean that Blender can't do the same thing. It might be a bit longer to get to the same place. But there are things in Blender that are better than the Cinema 4D. One of them would be UV unwrapping. I mean, it's so much better in Blender than it is in Cinema 4D. And obviously this new gaming engine, that's a big one. So it depends on what you're trying to accomplish. So obviously Blender is not a MoGraph tool 100% yet. And that's why I want to put the spotlight on Blender so that Blender people can pay attention to MoGraph needs as well. That way they're not just catering to modelers and, everyone else but motion graphics people. So parts of it, obviously it's not 100% there yet, but it's not going to get there if we don't talk about it. And I want to change that narrative in the Blender community. I want them to start paying attention to motion graphics, and they are, which I'm excited about. But yeah. Sergei, thanks, Dave. Kirk, thanks so much. Mark. All right, well, thank you, all of you. Stevie is here. I was about to say Steve would probably know a lot about flip fluids because I've seen him post stuff over and over. But anyway. Well, hey, guys, thank you so much for tuning in. And again, thank you for your financial support. Thank you for supporting us and just being so awesome. We love the community. We love you guys. But until next time, my name is Sergei Prakhnevsky, and this is ukramedia.com.